Hey everyone, I'm Katrina Menne, and let's hop into this week's Workout Wednesday challenge. Can you fill the donut hole? You can see here that we have a donut chart that is showing the number of customers as well as the percentage broken down by a couple different categories. We've got male and female, also civil status, and loyalty program. So let's hop into our workbook. You can see here that I have the data already pulled in here. We're using the D_customer table this time. And I've also populated the instructions so we can keep everything on one screen. So this week is going to be pretty simple because Sigma makes this really easy to do. I'm first going to create a child visualization. We'll pull this up here next to the instructions. And I'm going to change it to be a donut chart. So we can see here that Sigma has an option to add a donut hole value, and it's in beta. I created this challenge to help draw your attention to this new feature. So let's populate some values in here. If we go back to our visual, we can see that we're going to be counting the number of distinct customer keys. If I hover over, I can see the formula that we're going to be using of count distinct customer key. There are a couple different ways that you could do this since this table is set to be one row per customer. Another way you could do it is to just do a row count in here, or a handy trick is to just have this be the sum. So we'll call it like row count or something like that. Since again, this is just one for one, and we can use this row count in our total instead. This is a little bit more performant instead of using a count distinct. Count distinct is asking your warehouse to do more versus both of them will get you the same thing. Since this is only about 5,000 rows, it's probably not going to make a huge difference here or there. But keep this in mind if you have a table that is much larger than 5,000 rows. That's one way to do it. So we've pulled in our value of the sum of row count, and you can see that it did not add our label in here. Basically, all we need to do is pull that into that same one. So again, this could be something where you could have different values, which could be really helpful. And let's add our colors. So if we come back here, we can see that we have options to flip between multiple values of gender, civil status, and loyalty program. So let's figure out how we should add that next. I'm going to come down here to our control elements. This is a segmented control. There's one segment for each control option, so it's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do is use the choose function, which is based on a number or an index. So I'm going to index my columns that I want to return. So I need to have my control element or my parameter set to a number as well. So 1, and it was first is gender. And my second value, or 2, is civil status. And then 3 was loyalty program. All right, so now we have our options available here. Let me go back to split customer account by. And I'm just going to highlight this and copy and paste it in because you know me, I like to be efficient when I'm building workbooks. So over here in our data, we have our gender and civil status as well as loyalty program. So you can see here that the loyalty program is set to 1 and 0, or just 1 when true and 0 when false. So we do need to somehow change this value to be the true and false in here. There are a couple of different ways you can do it, but I think maybe the easiest way to understand is basically if this equals 1, then true, else false. Again, you can do lots of different ways, but all right, so I'm getting an error because this is a string, not a number. There we go. And we'll just label this as loyalty, question mark, to help keep them separate so we know which one we're doing. And now we need to tell Sigma that when I click on each of these buttons or each of these options that I want to color something in my donut chart differently. Since we're only building one visual on here, I'm going to put this calculation in my donut chart element. I can also do this in my customer table. It's really up to you. I will tend to put something in a table if I know I'm going to reuse it later. Maybe if this was an actual dashboard, I would be building a supporting table or some KPIs or something like that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it simple and put it in our element here. So on the color section of my settings, I'm going to add a new column, and I'm just going to say choose my, oops, I forgot we did not rename that one. So it's just new control. We just changed the title. So again, I'm basically saying index, pull whatever values that are in from our choose option. And if the first option is selected, I want my customer gender, else I want my civil status, and then lastly, I want my loyalty. All right, looks like Sigma's giving us an error because this is a Boolean versus the rest of them are strings. So I'm just going to quickly, oops, I want it to be text. There we go. Okay, so here we can see that we are starting to get our values. Let's just test these to see if they also work. And yep, those also work. All right, let's fix some of the formatting so that we can match these options. We can see here that we're pulling in the label as well as the percentage, and that I don't have my legend showing. So I'm going to come to the element format or the paintbrush. And first, let's remove the legend. Next, we'll go to data labels. We'll turn those on. And so we want to do as label as opposed to the legends, and we just turn that off. And I believe we're going to do value. No, we want color and percent. So color is basically just saying what is it colored by or the fields that it's colored by. And then we want the percentage. And then I'm going to decrease the percentage to just be a whole number instead of a decimal. So since this is new, I'll also go through this one as well. You can see that you can play around with some of the sizing of the donut chart. So, feel free to play around with this, as well as you have some options with the positioning for the labels. And if you've got a long label, you can change that and some sizing as well. But I don't believe I did. Oh, looks like actually I did bold that one in there. So let's bold the label. There we go. Some of row count. So we do need to change that to be customers. So let's go back to the element format and we'll change the name of this one. Whoops, we want to do this one. This is the label. There we go. So now we can see that we have just under 5,000 customers, and this is the breakout by these different statuses. So one other thing that you might have noticed is that this is sorted differently. So we have our largest option here, and then it goes largest to smallest. I personally like this option. I think it's easier for users to think of the slices of the donut or a pie chart to go from smallest to largest, like in a bar chart. I would typically do that. So we're just going to do the same thing where we're sorting by our calc, greatest to smallest. I know I also changed the color palette. I believe it was maybe this one. There we go. All right. So lastly, we want to copy and paste the title. And paste that in. And we can see that we're using a dynamic text in here so that, again, when I change this, it's saying customer count by civil status or customer count by gender. So let's populate that as well. This is basically the same if statement or true statement that we're using to populate the count. So what I like to do is just come in here and copy the formula and paste it in here, and then instead just put quotation marks. There we go. So let's test that out. Yep. Oh, looks like I forgot to remove one bracket. All right. And lastly, I would move these items onto a separate tab and then hide the data tab. But that is all we need for this challenge. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.